spiritual awakening is the alignment of your personality with your sacred self. And a personality is created over a lifetime. It is created from the very moment you were born, from the very moment of conception, from the moment that you were a single cell morphing into a very complex neurobiological human being in a physiological form, with an intellect, with an emotional quotient, and with contemplative capabilities, and a soul and a spiritual self. From the very moment that happened, there had to be an alignment of the person or persona with the spiritual or the sacred or the holy or the divine parts of ourselves. And that is what spiritual awakening is. It is moving from one side to the other. It is transforming. Trans meaning to go and move above, transform, above form. And that is the process of life. Of course, it's conscious transformation. So it's not only physical transformation, which really does little for us, as we know, through the aging process. Life is rather about consciousness that never stops expanding and evolving. So we need to realize at one stage when the timing is right. It's not a chronological thing, mind you. When the time is right, we'll know, and there'll be an inner yearning. Normally through suffering and pain, we'll know that we need to transform, spiritual awaken, or change. And when this happens, we go on a journey, and it is a journey back to our sacred selves. So we need to move from personas, meaning our masks that mask our pain and our suffering. When we're ready to bear it, we're ready to transform, we're ready to open up and be free, because a spiritual being cannot be contained by someone who has not yet woken up. Someone who is a spiritual being needs to see beyond what the eyes see. It needs to hear beyond what the ears hear or comprehend. So one day on our journey, when the pain comes, we go on a journey. We brave it. We find the courage, and we cross the abyss of the dark night of the soul, and we move towards our authentic selves. Of course, the truth is going to set us free. And when we do so, we get the knowledge of our personality, all of its defects, our perfectionism, our codependence, our neuroticism, all of it, our judgmental side. And we then dissolve and integrate that into our new self, into our spiritual or sacred selves. And that is who we become. We become human beings that are spiritual beings, rather than human beings that are personalities alone. Why we're healing personality disorders is because we have understood that they are the masks that we wear to hide our pain. They are masks that we put up since we're 1 and 2 years old, that we try to use to keep our pain deeply pressed down, depressed. And that ends up with us needing deep rest at a stage later in life. This often comes as burnout, breakdown, addictions, personality disorders, attention deficits, eating disorders, whatever it is that we use to mask our pain. But the good news is that it is all a persona, a mask. It is something that we use to cover. It makes us powerless to create what we want for ourselves and our family and for the world. So we regain a sense of our authentic selves, what we call our sacred selves, by going and attacking the 10 most common personality masks that we have, and then going beyond those and finding pathways. And we've found 10 pathways back to our sacred self, which are self-compassion, the ability to regulate our emotions, the ability to find courage and resilience, and so on and so forth. And when we apply each of those 10 pathways back to sacred self, we allow the personality to break open. No longer does it need to break down. it breaks open and frees us from our addictions, our depression, and our lifelong anxieties and fears. This is how we move from fear to love. All that fear represents is stuckness, addiction, desolation, self-injury, self-harm. And all that love represents is gratitude, joy, bliss, and harmony. And that's where we want to go. I mean, the choice is obvious. And we help people transform their lives and move from one side to the other by dissolving and integrating, transforming and including these 10 most common aspects of personality used to cover our pain. And we move through those and integrate them, and we come out the other side as transformed, awake human beings. Most certainly we're equipped to solve any problem. The only problem you're never going to solve is God. For all other problems, we've been given the capability, cognitive capacity, and consciousness to get through to the source of any problem that needs solving. Any problem can be solved through using your contemplative intelligence, or CQ. Your IQ is not enough. Your knowledge is not enough to get you where you need to go. So the genesis of solving any problem is getting to understand that you receive sensory information. There's only 5 senses. All information, all triggers and stimuluses that you'll ever have are through the 5 senses. So when you're sensory in nature, that is IQ, you're not going to be able to solve most of your problems, and that's going to lead to frustration, fear, addictions, depression, and all sorts of things, which we will eventually overcome by moving through what Aristotle said is asking the question, is it true? To find the answer to any problems, we need to start questioning, as Einstein told us to do. Aristotle said to us, is it true is the way forward to answering and solving problems. And how we do that is we question our thoughts. Your first thoughts are sensory in nature, and we need to move to multisensory and then extrasensory capabilities. Now, that may sound like a lot, but it's simple. It is listening to our intuition. It is our epiphanies. It is the power of being still and knowing, which is revelation of knowledge. So to use your contemplative intelligence is really getting a second thought, allowing space and time just enough to move past your sensory information. It's to allow your EQ, your epiphanies, intuition, your extrasensory perceptions to have enough chance to look at the problem and allow the truth to effervescently bubble to the surface. And that's exactly what it does. If you can face your EQ, your emotional intelligence, and allow yourself to sit with a problem, sit with the discomfort and the pain that problems bring naturally, even if it's slight, even if you don't even notice that it's there. So what you've got to do is learn to sit with your problems, be still, and then you will know. When you're still, extrasensory information is available to our prefrontal cortex. So if we have thoughts, we manage our feelings, we allow for a second thought or a contemplative thought, we then can change the way we action and behave. And when we do that, we get completely different consequences in our lives. If we cannot action what we want, we are powerless. And the feelings of powerlessness are enough to do anybody in. Pain is quite overwhelming. So what we need to do if we want to action things, power means to action, we become powerful rather than powerless. The consequence when we follow this process, this behavior chain, is loving kindness. It is consequences that bring high energy, growth, evolution, and progress. And that's what we want. Solve any problem by moving from IQ to EQ to CQ. The Stoics, all the mystics, monks, and prophets remind us to be still and know. It is in questioning our thinking that we receive meta cognition, meta capability. And from that standpoint, we can perform right action.